We have just 4 days left until the inauguration ceremony, and I'm still very confused as to what the United Allied States is all about. I've gone from being really concerned when I first found out about it, because I thought it sounded a very similar setup to the European Union, and of course that tenuous link to Bill Gates. Then when I looked into more detail, I went the complete opposite direction, and I thought this UAS is nothing more than a vanity project run by a group of people who seemed no more professional than me. Then we had the election, was it about 10 days ago now? Everything went quiet until the 3rd of August when they actually put a statement on the website. But up until that point there'd been nothing, and even to this date, I think it's the 11th of August, we haven't had an interview from the President, Steve McCulloch. Still nothing. And the YouTube channel, the UAS YouTube channel, still only has the video from the election night. They just don't seem to keep people informed on a professional level. That's what I think. I found the frequently asked questions page. Well, I'd seen it before, but I watched a video from Apollo about 3 days ago, and they were talking about it, and I found an inconsistency, another one. So I went to have a look at it myself again in more detail, and I just want to run through what I discovered. Now, I don't know if this is a double bluff. Are they really this stupid, really this unprofessional, or is it on purpose to hide the fact that actually we're a bit more serious than we're showing everyone? I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that little niggle isn't anything to be worried about. And until I find out anything to the contrary, I'm going to keep on talking about it. They mentioned that finally, the first state is going to be released very soon. Now, they're giving us a clue. Now, it's got beautiful beaches, a lovely place to go on holiday, that kind of image that they conjured up. I'm going to put my neck on the line here, and I'm going to say I reckon it's going to be Zimbabwe, and I'll tell you why. It's because Zimbabwe is currently experiencing a severe shortage of cash. It's effectively impossible to make cash withdrawals with an international bank card. Banks are experiencing challenges dispensing foreign currency cash, including for international transfers from outside of Zimbabwe. So you see, the use of the cryptocurrency would help them. But in return, they've got to give the UAS some land. Now, until we find out if it is there, in fact, how much land is going to be given over. As I said about a minute ago, the point of this upload is to go through the FAQ page. For me, they raise more questions than they answer, and it's full of inconsistencies and confusing statements. I'm going to start by playing you the crypto fintech video from 3 days ago, which was here on YouTube. I'll play you just a few seconds of it. It's the only part that was dedicated to the UAS. So here it is, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts on it.
Now the UN they're not part of the UN now, okay, but will they down the road? Maybe, okay? This one says no, but Steve has said maybe. So he's the president, don't forget. President-elect, but he is saying that it's a possibility.
Oh, Mike, it doesn't just say no, it says never. The UAS has nothing to do with the UN and never will be partnered with the UN. The fundamental goals and values of the UAS do not line up with those of the UN. Mike, if Steve did say that, you shouldn't be saying it. It should be Steve saying it. And if he has changed his mind, then maybe they should alter this part of your frequently asked questions page, because it's completely and utterly confusing and contradictory. President-elect or not, Steve can't decide if he becomes a member of the United Nations. It says here on the UN website that states are admitted to membership in the United Nations by decision of the General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. So he can't just decide to become a member, he has to have it granted. The next question on their list is even more confusing. Is the UAS going to be the new world order? Let me just read you this bit. The overall goal is to have 12 to 24 states worldwide. It is safe to say that although this is an ambitious goal, even a dozen sovereign economic zones is far from a new world order and the complete opposite of the intentions of the UAS. The UAS is a critical opponent to globalism and much of what it represents. Now here's my problem. Doesn't their business model rely on globalism? Globalism is the connections and networks that span across the world, so multi-continental distances. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get other countries or areas, we don't know exactly what yet, to join their cryptocurrency in return for land. That's what I understand so far. It's relying on making connections throughout the world. With that in mind, how on earth can they be a critical opponent to globalism? Their business model relies on it, surely. Also, I'm going to pick out the word critical opponent. 2 words, critical opponent. Nowhere on this website have I seen anything that is critically opposed to globalism. Nowhere. I've been through it with a fine-tooth comb. So that is just a vacuous sentence to me. Another thing. Their overall goal is to have between 12 and 24 states. That's very specific. And for me, that doesn't sound very ambitious at all, although they say it is ambitious. To go to all this bother of, setting up a government, having an election for a president, to have a maximum 24 states, we don't know how big they'll be. They say from 1,000 hectares to 200,000 hectares. But it doesn't seem very ambitious at all. So are they underplaying that? This is why I'm so confused with this part of the FAQ page. Are they underplaying it for a reason, or do they just pick out some numbers from thin air? I don't know. We're not going to find out anymore. Can't make an informed decision until we find out how many states are going to join. But it's this critical opponent to globalism that really confused me, because they can't be critically opposed to it. It's what their business is relying on, making connections around the world. It just doesn't make any sense. The next question I was really surprised to see on their FAQ list. Is the UAS a Christian entity? Do people really wonder that? The answer is yes. The UAS was founded upon Judeo-Christian values, and those roots have shaped the Constitution and many of its core policies. However, all religions are respected and fiercely protected under the Constitution. I did laugh when I read this question, because Judeo-Christian is a phrase that is more political than religious nowadays. It did start off having religious connotations, that Christianity was derived from Judaism, but in the mid-20th century in the States it became shorthand for ethics such as the dignity of life and the common decency and support for traditional family values. But today it's most often used to draw a line between imagined Christian values and a perceived threat of Muslim immigration. It's got very little, if anything, to do with religion, which is why I laughed when the first words in that sentence was yes, it is a Christian entity. No, it isn't. I'm going to cover the next 2 questions at the same time, and very shortly you'll see why. The first frequently asked question apparently is what separates the UAS from other countries? The word other implies that the UAS is a country. What separates the UAS from other countries? Do you see where I'm coming from? However, if we look at the next question, is the UAS a country? No, the UAS is not and does not claim to be a country yet. This is all really confusing. It's not a country, and yet you can apply for a passport or a visa. It's not a country, and yet it's got a government and a president. It just doesn't seem to know what it is. Or does it know, and is it trying to keep things back from us? And as a result, it's coming across as a rather confused setup. It's not a country yet, so perhaps it intends to become a country at some point. I decided to find out how easy it is to declare yourself a country. And I found out there are 3 steps. Step 1, declare your intentions. The first action a nation must take in becoming an independent country is to declare its intentions to do so. Well, I guess it's done that, hasn't it? But in order to do this, it must satisfy international laws set out in the Montevideo Convention. They actually do speak about this on their website. You can see it. It's in the FAQ page. So they are going to do that. To conform to these rules, a country must exist within a clearly defined territory. It doesn't have any territory at the moment. Have a permanent population. It doesn't have a population. Have a government. Tick, it's got the government. Be able to enter into relations with other sovereign states. I guess so. That was step 1. Step 2, gain recognition. A new country should be recognised by existing states within the international community, a decision which is made at each country's discretion. One example of an entity that are recognised as legitimate states by some countries but not by others. Step 3, join the UN. There's a problem, isn't there? Because apparently they're never going to join the UN. Does that mean they can never become a country? It gets more and more confusing with every question on this page. It really does. I'm going to leave it there for tonight. It's 4:10 in the morning and I should probably hit the sack. I'm still none the wiser. I still can't decide whether this UAS is a threat or whether it's just a ridiculous vanity project, as I keep saying. I don't know. I think we're going to have to wait and see what the first state is that joins and see what happens from there. But I'll be back sometime next week with oh no, we've got the inauguration in 3 days now. I've been up all night. 3 days, so I'll be back with that. Thank you for watching.